Happy birthday, Melissa Carter.
Well, it's tomorrow. It's tomorrow.
But we get to celebrate all week long. Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. Yes, tomorrow is my 51st birthday. I'm very proud to be there. So, yay.
Yay.
I believe in birthdays. I have friends who shy away from them. And, obviously, Jen and I started the Friendzy so that you stop lying about your age, and birthdays are to be celebrated because it's your special day. It's honoring the fact that you entered this world. So, I mean, you get to be selfish. It's all about you. I asked Mr. Carter. Thank you, Mary Kay. I asked Mr. Carter, I said, what'd you get your mama for her birthday? He said, I'm not telling you. I said, are you sure you're not going to tell? Did you forget your mom? So now I'm giving my 6-year-old crap about my birthday, just to remind him you don't forget your mother's birthday. So yes, tomorrow's my birthday.
Happy birthday. Do you have any traditions that you like to do on your birthday? Do you set birthday goals?
I don't. As a kidney transplant recipient, they call your transplant date your second birthday. So in November, when my transplant anniversary comes, I used to plant things thinking I was going to make a transplant garden. And I realized I don't have a green thumb. I have a black. I killed every plant that I tried to plant. So that because it was like a berry bush, or thank you, Lisa, a berry bush, or something. And I thought, over time, because this year will be 19 years that I've had this kidney. And it's like, that's a big garden, right? No, none of it survived. So usually in November, I try to come up with those goals and thoughts, and I'm very reflective. For my birthday, it's just about sitting in the front seat, because Millie Pete, I have 2 siblings, and it was a car of 5 people, and Mom would always be in the front seat. And so on your birthday, Mom would sit in the back seat and let the kid be in the front seat whose birthday it was. And to me, it's my front seat day. So it's just total selfishness. It's not about reflection. It's just about, I'm here. I'm still going. I'm going to make 51 better than 50. So,
and you're going to have chocolate. I know.
Oh yeah, of course.
Shout out chocolate for all of our friends who love chocolate. Melissa Carter loves chocolate more than anyone I know.
And I don't have a filter. I can eat it and eat it. I just love chocolate. Yes. And speaking of my son, he hates it. So that's good, because I get it all to myself. And when we go back out to a restaurant, when we would go to restaurants before the pandemic, and I'd order something chocolate, they'd always give it to him at the table. And he was like, no, that's mama food. That's not my food. I'm like, that's exactly right, son. I'm teaching you right.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thanks for checking in today and saying hey with us. Melissa and I record the podcast every week on Wednesday mornings together. So I always look forward to that. And then we've decided we're going to jump on live and check in with you guys and tell you about the latest episode of the Friendzy. So Melissa, can you talk a little bit about episode 6 that is out today with Morgan, or out this week, with Morgan Shaw Parker.
Morgan Shaw Parker is with the Atlanta Falcons, with Mercedes-Benz Stadium, one of the executives there. And so it's really interesting. You think about women in sports. We still have a hard time when it comes to athletes and talking about women in sports. So think about somebody who's an executive at an NFL franchise. And so I love how she talks about where she came from, how she got into the sports world, how she became one of the top leaders there with the Falcons, and what it's like. And I like the fact that she talks about whether men are really embracing and encouraging and mentoring of women in those positions, or if they kind of resist her. And she's pretty honest about what happens. And I think you'll be relieved to hear what she has to say.
Totally. And I also love that we got into the conversation about becoming moms older. Yeah. Because leave us a comment, leave us the praise emoji if you're an older mom watching this. Because Melissa and I were older in life when we started our families, and so was Morgan. And so she had this whole crazy long career before she became a mom, and now she's older and has little kids.
Yeah.
So we were laughing about how some of our friends have kids in high school or going off to college, and
yes,
we're still,
I have friends whose grandchildren are just a little younger than Mr. Carter. And at my last reunion, at my last high school reunion, there were 3 of us with young kids. And yes, we got ribbed pretty badly because we were the old parents.
Like, haha, you're doing sippy cups and cleaning up messes.
That's right. Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate it. Yes. My birthday, and I think that March 11th,
Oh, that's a long stretch, Mary Kay.
Mary Kay,
Yes, I love
love.
it.
I looked at the 23rd and I thought, bless your heart.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was gonna say that March 11th should be a national holiday. Just saying, maybe
Okay.
eventually you'll be able to take off if you want to try to take off work tomorrow and say it's because it's Melissa's birthday. I'm sure they wouldn't have a problem with that.
Yeah. Totally. So definitely check out the podcast this week. We would love for you to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. That really, really helps us because then Apple and the other platforms will push it out to more people if you say that you go and you like it and you subscribe to it. So we would love that. And we also want to tell people about signing up for our weekly emails now.
Yeah. So please go to thefriendzy.com and there you can subscribe. And by subscribing there, you are automatically part of our newsletter that we send out. And we can deliver new episodes of the Friendzy straight to your inbox. We want to make it as convenient for you to listen to these impactful conversations. We really do think you're going to get a lot out of this podcast. So we want to make it easy for you. So please subscribe. Thefriendzy.com. And again, it's like friendzy.com. And there you'll see where you can subscribe. And all we need is your name and your email address. And then we'll make it easy for you from then on out. So we really appreciate you doing that.
And we promise not to bug the heck out of you, too.
Correct.
We're not going to fill up your inbox. It's just like once a week, hey, here's the new episode. Here's what's going on with us. It's just a way to check in. So we promise not to bombard you with a bunch of junk that you don't need.
Right. Yes. And also check and make sure it's not in your spam box, because sometimes that happens with things like this when if you don't get it next week and you're like, but yeah, make sure we're part of your inbox. But as Jen said, we're going to respect your time. The newsletter's not going to be long and drawn out novel. It's just going to be quick. Hey, here's what's going on. Here's the episode. Have a great day.
Mary Kay wants to know, where do you leave the review?
Well, if you subscribe to wherever you subscribe to the podcast. So most people we find are subscribing to Apple Podcasts, but there are other places that you can go. You can have your Stitcher account. You can if you have an Android, we're also on Google Play. We are on, Spotify. We're wherever you have a login where you listen to podcasts, that's where you'd leave the review.
Yeah. And each one is a little bit different on what you click on and where you go to do it. But we would really that'd be really awesome. All right. So I'm obsessed this week with the Meghan and Harry interview. Of course, the sit down special with Oprah that they did on CBS. It aired Sunday night. There was like a jillion people who watched it. And then I couldn't stay up that night to watch it. So I streamed it the next night, stayed up till almost midnight to watch every single word of this. I just want to know, what do you guys think? What do you think about Meghan Markle sitting down and sharing her side of the story of everything that happened to them?
Harry, I act like I'm crying. I do.
I am just
for those who didn't, for those who didn't get to see it, what's a little recap for what was revealed?
Oh, there was so much, Melissa. I was glued. It was so good. I think this is from my roots because my grandmother, who's no longer with us, she was British. So born to a British mother and an American father. And so she had dual citizenship, but she was raised in England. And then when her mother died when she was young, she came to the United States on the Queen Mary and was raised in North Carolina. So she was all Southern and British at the same time and always obsessed with the royal family. So fast forward, that's, I think, trickles down to me, and I have been obsessed.
Yes, ever since I was a kid, Mom and I got up at 4 a.m. for Charles and Diana's wedding, and then when Diana died, we were on the phone at 4 a.m. Watching it together. And Jen, when she went to England to cover William and Kate's wedding, I made her bring souvenirs back to me, which I still have, by the way.
I love it. Yes, me too.
Yeah.
So we just want to know, what did you think about this interview if you got to see it? I guess I was surprised that she came forward with her story, but proud of her for coming forward with her story. Does that make sense? Surprised that the British monarchy machine didn't silence them. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I'm addicted to The Crown. I don't know if you've watched The Crown.
Yeah, some of the seasons. I have lots of catching up to do.
You got to watch this. And so The Crown is based on real events. So The Crown is, obviously some of the conversation is fictionalized, but it's based on real things that happened within Queen Elizabeth's reign. So this is about modern day royals. And in it talks, the last season they cover Diana and her arrival to Buckingham Palace. And so I'm not surprised that it's trickled down to this, because my thought was that Meghan speaking out would make Diana proud, because Diana was really the first one to ever try to speak out. And some suspect that was her death an accident, because I know people in my life that truly think that the royals killed her because she was making too much of a stink. And if she married her boyfriend at the time, yes, Mary, the crown is great. If she married her boyfriend at the time, there was the concern about the crown prince having to travel to different countries, and maybe, is she going to try to take William with her with Dodi Faye? I mean, I don't know. Dodi Faye could have been in an English, but his ancestry probably was a concern for them. I mean, he's probably an English citizen. I don't know what I'm talking about, but just the fact that Diana was about to get married to somebody else, to me, the timing was a little off, and to somebody else that wasn't white. And so, and she was still the mother of the crown prince. So anyway, there was in The Crown, they depict the story of how they treated her, which was very cold and very disturbing, much more than I realized. And so again, the fact that her son's, her daughter-in-law is just saying, screw this, I'm coming out and telling you exactly what happened. And the fact that I understand, because I didn't get to see it, but the fact that people were were trying to figure out or question or be concerned about the color of the skin of the child when it came out.
That was a big part of it, was that someone said to Harry, someone in the family, and Oprah made it clear the next day, it was not Queen Elizabeth or Prince Philip who said it. Okay. She clarified that. But Harry said on camera, I'm not comfortable talking about that story, and I will never talk about that story. So it almost seemed to me like Meghan went a little bit farther than what Harry was comfortable going with. But she said someone voiced concern to Harry about what would be the color of Archie's skin. How dark would he be? And Oprah was like, what? Like, what? And so they brought it up again when Harry joined her on the set, and I
was kind of disappointed that Archie was as light as he was. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I just told Jenn off air, I said, I hope that girl is as dark skinned as her grandmother is, as Meghan's mother is, because I think, because there needs to be an update, because there's people like we are Anglophiles. We love the royals, but there are so many people who are like, it's old fashioned, and what purpose do they serve?
Right.
There's a lot of people who have said there's no need for a monarchy anymore. So, and to me, as more of these stories come out, it's like one thing that Elizabeth, I think, has done is, even though she may be slow to the punch sometimes, she's always adapted to try to keep the monarchy as modern as possible. And if Diana, in my view, if Diana had never been a part of that royal family, they would not be where they are today. William and Harry are who they are, and more accessible and more seeming caring about the common person, and more out and about and doing things because of their mother, not because of their father.
Well, and what Harry said in the interview is, he said, I started watching history repeat itself, and I was not going to let that happen to my family, about their exit. So Meghan opens up in this interview about her mental health struggles, and she was having a really hard time. The tabloids were after her. The British press was just, she was just getting shredded everywhere. And she said she believed they would protect her, because they said they would protect her, and then they didn't. They didn't stick up for her. They didn't clarify stories. They let her become the villain. And they liked this play between Kate being, the hero, and her being the villain. And it's basically like, she described this symbiotic relationship between the British press and the royal family, and that they need one another, and that they have this play back and forth going on.
And Meghan,
there's a lot at play, and not necessarily the members of the family, but she called it the firm, like the people who run the family. So all of their, communications people and all of the management of it were not supportive of Meghan. And it was very hard. She had lots of mental health struggles. And then when she said, I need help, can you get me help? I need mental help. Like, I'm having suicidal thoughts. they said, "I'm sorry, we can't help you. That wouldn't be a good look."
That's you gotta watch The Crown because that is history repeating itself because you have to
So
watch the Diana part, because
right.
Diana was bulimic through that whole thing, and this, Crown really shows you that she was puking everywhere all the time
Wow.
just to get control over something in her life. They treated her horrifically, and Charles was a horrific husband to her. So, and that's my opinion, but it's like, it's not
Mhm.
gonna make you like Charles anymore to watch this show. At
Okay.
least with Meghan, she has Harry who is sympathetic to what's
Right.
going on. And the reason that they liked pitting them against each other is because Kate is the mother of the crown prince and Meghan's not. So that is a
Ah,
very serious, I mean, they, whoever is going to be king of England is who they care about. And so
yes.
and it's not
Interesting.
Harry and it's not Archie. So
Okay. So Megan goes, says, "I need help." They say, "We can't give it to you. Sorry." Basically, sorry. And she and Harry have this thing where she says one night, she's like, "You see these pictures?" And they showed the pictures of them going to an event. She's in this gorgeous gown, her hair's pulled back. And she said, everybody that looked at this picture thought we were having this glamorous night. And she goes, "That was the day I told him I couldn't do it anymore, that I was having the thoughts of how would I not live any longer. And he made me go with him because he couldn't not go to this thing and I couldn't be left alone." And she said, "What I see in that picture is his tight grip on my hand." And she's like, "And thank God he held on tight." And it was this beautiful moment, like showing how he really was like, "Nope, not my wife, not my family, not gonna happen." And when they left, it was like it was so fascinating. I'm so proud of them for telling their side of the story, for being vocal about what they've been through, because I think by sharing that, she helps so many people realize if they have those thoughts, they need to go get help and they need to figure out because they can get to the other side of it, right?
well, and I also think it's quite symbolic that in this case and in any time usually that with Elizabeth's uncle, that when somebody wants to depart from the royal family and not be a part of that, it's usually an American that has given them the safe space to do that. And in this case, Meghan's the American, but it's like, our country was founded
Mhm,
because we were leaving the monarchy, and
mhm.
so everybody that in the monarchy that's leaving, it's hilarious that it usually has some kind of
Interesting.
American tie
Yes.
to it.
You're
So,
right. You're so
yeah.
right. And I think that Harry was very brave in doing that. The other point that really ticked me off was that when they decided to step down from their, senior roles, they went to a Commonwealth in Canada, right? And then they were cut off from security. Like Harry was born into this.
Mhm.
To me, he should have security protection for his whole life and his whole family, right? But they cut him off. So he has to come to America and he's doing deals with like Netflix and Apple and all these other things. And people are like, "Oh, you just did that because you just came here because you want to be rich and you want to have all this other money or whatever." He's like, "I had to be able to afford security for my family because they cut me off."
Mhm.
And I thought, that's horrible. Horrible. They
Well,
know how famous Harry and Meghan and their children are and how many
but you're
crazy people
assuming
are
these
out
are
there.
caring people. So that's the thing
Yes.
too. You're assuming, so I
Ooh.
and I'm not trying to vilify the royal family, but I do think that you are a product of how you live. If you surround yourself with yes people, then you get this idea that you are above. This family has been it's not earned, like, so, here history geek real quickly, like, for
Yeah.
instance, in the Roman Empire, it was not the way that they transferred power had nothing to do with relatives. You earned, it was usually generals. It was usually people that earned their rank to be able to now be the new leader of this empire. Where with the British Empire, it's been like you said, you're born into it. Whether you're qualified or not, it doesn't
Mhm.
matter. It's because of the blood in your system. And so I mean, it's this idea that God appointed me the
Mhm.
leader of this, and so this is a millennia heritage of I don't know, like this self-importance. And so that's why Diana, to me, was such uh, a blessing for them, even though it cost her life, because she was the first person, even though she was born into royalty, she was not a common person. Like Kate Middleton was a middle class citizen, where Diana actually still was a part of a royal upbringing. But still, she injected you got to care about these people. That's why she went to the AIDS patients, and she went to the bombings and the bombing areas and try to get bomb. The royal family, as a general rule, does not live like that. They don't live worried about anything other than themselves. At least that's the perception I get. So to have this idea that they're going to care about Harry and Meghan, even though but he's not the father of the King of England, and he's not going to be King of England. They only care, and this is Melissa's opinion, they only care about the heirs to the throne. And Harry is far removed from that.
It just is shocking to me, because you know what even American celebrities have to deal with paparazzi and invasion of privacy and the scary things that have happened. And, they have
I know people that
security.
think that the royal family is that was their tactic to kill Diana. I know people that in their heart of hearts think that they made sure that she didn't survive that chase in Paris.
So awful.
And because it was off England, it was off English soil. And so again, it's like if they purposely used paparazzi type tactics to take care of one person, then to me it's, and again, these are speculations and these are conspiracy theories, but it's like you're assuming they're caring people, and they are survivors. And William is their survival because he's after, Charles. And then, and George is after William. George, right? That's her first kid, right?
I can't remember all the names. I can't.
And so that's who they care about. Those are the individuals they care about. And then everybody else is,
everybody else
stay
is
in
like,
line.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that shocked me. But I was happy that they're here, that they're having a little girl, that they are, creating their own path and starting their own thing in America for their family, and that everything is okay. But man, I was like, wow, so crazy.
Well, he's committed to not being a part of that family. So, I mean, all this is, I don't know. It's like it's interesting. He lost his mother younger than William did, even though they both were very young. And William, again, doesn't have the same choice that Harry does, right? So, William did not have even the possibility of leaving that family. So there's another thing that's interesting where Harry had the opportunity to be able to do this because he's not in line to the throne as close. I mean, like he is, but technically, but he's not the crown prince, and William will be. And so that's the other thing to me is like, I'm sure they're tight, and I worry about their relationship. Like I worry about and care about William and Harry because, I don't want history to repeat themselves there, where I would love for there still to be affection and for Harry to be sympathetic to William and William be sympathetic, because I'm sure they're jealous of each other in certain ways, right? Because Harry's life would be completely different had he been oldest, and William's life would have been completely different because of the way they were treated from the very start as children. I mean, you talk about parents who have favorites in their family and how
good. What
and how
Boston says.
Yeah, that's true. Because it's survival. Their position in the world, because they know it's not, the Queen Elizabeth does not rule the world like the royal family used to. The English monarchy ruled majority of the world. Like the sun never set on the English empire because they had so many territories. Now it's just kind of it's a ceremonial position, but they're still the richest landowners, I believe, in the world. I believe they still own more land than anybody else on the planet. And they're still very rich, and that's what they're protecting. And the people that can protect that are the people that are going to wear the crown. And Harry's not going to wear the crown, and Archie's not going to wear the crown, and Meghan's not going to wear the crown. So, but I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying I'm not as shocked.
I love that they're telling their story. I just think I think it's brave. I'm glad they're out there. I'm, sadly slightly obsessed and entertained by
Well,
it,
I'm
but it is
conflicted by
their
that 'cause
real life. It
yes.
is their real life. And I do think that in sharing your story and putting it out there that you can serve the world in that. And I think her being brave about mental illness and talking about all the things they went through and
Well,
it just
now
shows that like every family's got drama. They've got massive amounts of drama, but it also kind of makes you feel normal. Like these are the most like famous richest people in the world and they got family drama. So maybe
right.
if you do, then you don't feel as bad about it. Or if you don't have family drama, you're like, cool. I'm
Well,
just,
I think family drama always comes from when you lose sight of who what your motivation is. I think family drama comes when you're not paying attention to the person in front of you and you're paying attention to an ideal that you're trying to impose upon somebody.
Mhm.
That's whether you make $30,000 a year or however much money they have a year. Um, and in Buckingham Palace, to be fair in the story, they've come out since then and said they are going to heavily investigate everything that Meghan said. So what I'm encouraged by is that even though behind the scenes they may be cursing and angry,
Right.
and to the public face, they didn't come across as alpha. They came across as, okay, we're going to listen to what she said and we're going to investigate that. Because what I'm hoping is that when the old guard is gone and that when William is king of England, that he also, by Diana's influence, will make changes. Because
Mhm.
the thing is, William, the fact that he married somebody who was a commoner, okay, Kate Middleton, like I said, her family
Right.
was not royal anything. They were middle class citizens.
Right.
And I think we forget the fact that he was revolutionary in the fact that he chose a woman who did not have any royal blood whatsoever, and she's going to be Queen of England. So, William should get credit for that too, because he went against the grain and probably had to fight hard to marry Kate Middleton, not Lady Kate Middleton. I mean, Diana was a
Right.
lady.
Right.
She was a commoner. So anyway, I hope that I want my fantasy is that for William and Harry to remain close in some level and to heal these wounds if there's wounds there, and that when William is king, that he implements changes, that he also sees what Harry and Meghan went through and make sure that his children, his daughter, his sons, because my understanding is that they haven't even told their children that they're going to be king and possibly queen of England someday. That they've kept that they have not raised their children in the environment of you have to do this and that. That they've saved that from them, which is different than what anybody else has done. So I look forward to this new generation and seeing what happens. But eventually, I think the royalty thing is gonna have to be dismantled and come apart
Phase out.
and phase out
Well,
because it makes no sense anymore.
that's the big hashtag, right? Is like abolish the monarchy.
Mhm.
Monarchy. That's the one that's been trending the last couple of days.
But there's a
After.
lot of money there, and people who have a lot
Oh
of money are gonna
yeah.
protect it at every turn. They're always gonna protect
No
their
kidding.
money. Yeah.
Does it make you feel like when you see somebody like that sit down and tell their truth? Does it make you reflect on your own life? I'd love to see in comments from anybody watching. When you watch somebody just pour their heart out like that, does it make you want to do the same thing? Does it make you feel reflective of maybe the stories in your own life or your own family that you'd like to put out there? Or does it make you go, "Ooh, I would never do that." Just curious.
I think in my opinion, it depends on what the person's saying. I think if Megan's concerns are your concerns, then I think it would, if racial concerns is mainly what the theme was,
Mhm.
then I think it gives you empowerment because Megan is in an environment where we've been talking about racial concerns for a year now intensely. So
Mhm.
I think that also helped her feel comfortable because she knew that she would probably have a bigger support system saying it this year than she would have 2 years ago. Right.
True, true, yeah.
So I think it inspires you if you can relate to what's being said. I think somebody who has other issues might not be inspired. I don't know. I hope so.
Do you feel like there's any stories that have been told about you that are wrong? Because that's the other thing too, is if she didn't come forward and sit down and do this interview with Oprah, then the world believes what the British, firm, as she called it, what the
Mhm.
monarchy firm has been putting out there, or what the tabloids say. if you never come and tell your truth in your life, so we're not going to go to the tabloids, but it could be to your friends, to your family, to your circle of influence, to your Facebook page, right? Could it do you have that urge to set the story straight? I think is what her motivation was too.
I think if you do it the way she did it, which is I'm giving my statement, I'm giving an interview with a trusted professional, and this is my story, and then you stay to it. I think that if the problem, and I see this in the gay community a lot, is if you are defensive and you're trying to fight back against something that you're feeling pushed back on, then you're not going to make as good of an argument because you're too emotional about it. Like it's a reason to be emotional, but my comment to people who come out is if you come out with if you come at somebody with a fist in your hand, then they're going to put up fists too. So if you come out like this, like, then of course the person's going to be like, well, and then you can't be disappointed by the reaction you get. If you're coming aggressively and the person's defensive, then you can't be surprised by that. So I think that if you are solid in your own heart about your truth, then you don't care what other people think. So to answer your question, I could care less what people think about me because I know that I portray myself in an authentic way, and my opinions, as varied and as plentiful as they are right? Authentic. I'm not trying to,
I think it's great.
I'm not trying to control people. I'm not trying to sway people necessarily. I just want to present my truth, and then you can decide for yourself how you feel about it. So I'm not as reactionary to the tabloids or to opinions as other people are, but I do think that if you are someone who needs to set a wrong right, then breathe and be solid in it before you open your mouth, or you're going to fall back and then be regretful, and you don't want to do that. So
it's like, I wonder that with Meghan, like, has she gotten enough like therapy through it? Because this seemed fairly quickly timed, right? Like, has she processed it enough, or was it good timing for her to sit down with Oprah and be as
well, she's been in a lawsuit. She's been in lawsuits in England, so she's been involved in a lot of trials with tabloids. And so I'm sure there was a strategy to it as well. But I think that it seems quick timed, but I think she's I don't know if the miscarriage was a trigger for her or not, but because especially if she thinks the miscarriage came from stress, in her heart. But yes, she has been involved in things for the past, I think, 2 years. So I think that she's probably had enough. I think enough is enough. And she's probably, as an American, again, like, I would be terrible as a politician. I've had people say, Melissa, why don't you run for office? Hell no, because people will be telling me what to say to benefit my constituents and what benefits my political career. And I'm not that girl. And so I can't imagine, first of all, I can't imagine a royal, lesbian coming and saying, hey, Melissa, why don't you come to Buckingham Palace? But if I was part of a royal family, I would have a very difficult time keeping my mouth shut. So I think that Meghan's personality, she wasn't trained as a British citizen to be, a certain way. She was trained as an American woman and raised by a Black woman.
Yeah. And who always worked and who always had that. Yeah.
So I think enough's enough. At some point, she's like, hey, Harry, I got to say something, honey. Just hold on. Harry, I got to say something, honey. Just because I'm sure Harry's like, no, not yet.
Right, and then his training is opposite of that. Yeah.
And so that's to me the most interesting part is how long did it take Meghan to convince Harry to do this interview? Ooh, because I'm sure he was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Sitting in that seat. I know he loves his wife, and I'm hoping their marriage works, because if it ever falls apart, I would hate for him to resent her for this. But I'm curious how difficult that was for him, and his relationship with his brother, his relationship with his father, his relationship with this is his family that he's left, and he's spending more time with her family. So, we have plenty of.
You think your in-laws are bad.
Yeah. And so, there's plenty of people who sacrifice their family for somebody they love. And boy, you better have a solid relationship, because that's a lot of sacrifice that Harry has made, and it seems justified, but I'm curious to see how this plays out.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
You got to watch The Crown, Jen. You got
I know,
to
I
finish
gotta
The
catch up.
Crown.
I watched it all the way until they switched Elizabeth's, so I'm way behind.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, if you've never watched The Crown, again, we have no relationship with Netflix or The Crown. So, I mean, we're just saying this because we're fans.
Yeah.
But The Crown started out when Elizabeth, before she became queen,
Mhm.
this Elizabeth, before she became queen, and right after she became queen, and her relationship with Philip, which was difficult because he's a man that had to swallow his pride because she was in charge, not him. And then
Mhm.
they fast forward it to age her, so they switched. And this actress is fantastic, and she's now older, and it's about her. And we've gotten up. The season ended with Diana when Prince Charles and Lady Di got married, and after their marriage, and the birth of William.
Okay.
And it's just
I
she
gotta catch up.
Diana gave birth to William while she was in the middle of bulimia. Like, the fact that she was able to carry a
Carry a
pregnancy through
baby, yeah.
that, and he be healthy. It's just poor thing. It's just made me just so sad for Diana all over again. God, I loved that woman. And just, but she was 19. Anyway, we could talk about this all day. She was 19 when I
Our
forgot that she was
obsession.
19 years old. 19 years old when she married Charles, and he was in his 30s. And it's just like, what did we expect of her? Because it doesn't always put her in the best light either. So The Crown does
Mm.
not glorify her, but I have more sympathy because I'm like, oh my God, I forgot she's 19 and dealing with all. Anyway, so
So
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. So she, again, I think, full circle, going back to the Meghan interview, I think that Diana's influence is still shown by her conversation with Oprah, because without Diana, you would never have sons who were willing to allow these outspoken people in their lives and to marry a commoner to be the Queen of England. I mean, it just,
And to say, I'm not gonna, Harry was very, resolute about that. I was not gonna let history repeat itself. And I could just see that's exactly what was happening. And when we
Mhm.
asked for help, we did not get it. We asked for help repeatedly. We did not get it. And then they were like, enough's enough. So it's so fascinating. Maybe they'll keep doing The Crown all the way through Meghan and Harry's departure and all the way up to
I don't
Oprah
know.
and the sit
At
down
the
interview.
end of The Crown, they always tell you the reference, what they're depicting. So they always tell you the real facts of what they have
Mhm.
shown you at the end of the episode. So it's not like I said, it's fictionalized nonfiction, but still, and the fact that all these, you talk about drama. You're right. I mean, it's just that it's interesting to be in America and to watch it across the pond. I'm sure it's
Totally.
far more frustrating to be in England, because I'm curious if the English like Meghan, or they think that she stole Harry and that she betrayed the crown.
Oh, I'm sure they do. Yeah, I'm certain that most people want
American Britain. Here we go again.
to vilify her. Yeah, totally. I'm curious on how it reflects in your own life. It definitely reflected for me because I feel like there are stories in my life where I've been painted in a certain light publicly, in a couple of different situations in life that was not
Flattering.
uh well, not necessarily flat, just not right. It just wasn't the truth and wasn't fair. And so I would love to someday be able to tell the truth. I'm not through some of those things yet. Some I am, some I'm not. But it made me think about, like, I bet that felt so good for her to sit down and tell the truth. And whether people want to believe it or not, or whether they want to, just doing it, just saying it, or writing it down or putting it
And I
out
think that's
there.
the key. What you just said is the key. So when you get to the point where you're ready to tell your truth, if you're doing it, and this goes back to my analogy about coming out with, in the gay community, if you're doing it to please somebody else or to change somebody's mind, your motivation is wrong.
Right, because you
Because
probably won't change their mind if they
correct.
already, like, believe in one way, but
But to make you feel better and you finally get the truth out, then that's the right
right,
motivation. Right.
right, and
Regardless of what anybody else thinks.
regardless of what it is, and is it for the purpose of sharing your truth to maybe help someone else? Then it's even
Mhm.
better, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Is it sharing your truth to make someone realize, "Oh, maybe you really don't know what's going on with people. Maybe you don't really know what's going on behind closed doors in people's relationships or marriages or most recently workplaces. Like you don't I'm just saying right now, like I've been smeared in a really bad light and people don't know the truth. But I'm also have not been in a place where I've been allowed to share it or in a place where I've been, like you said, ready to share it.
For the
And
right reasons,
for the
right.
right reasons and
Right.
not in a defensive place. So
Right.
I feel like that I am watching Meghan and Harry and going like, yeah, you tell the
Well,
truth. You let people know that, she was having major mental health struggles behind the scenes and nobody could see that. But that is her truth, or hey, this isn't what it all looks like it is, So I
and the same
would love to
and
tell my truth someday. Someday I
right.
will.
Well, and the same with Prince Charles, like, because he was always in love, not with Diana, but with his current wife from the
Yes, he was
start.
always in love with Camilla.
And
Always. He
they
wasn't allowed to marry her for
and he
some reason,
wasn't
right?
allowed to marry her.
Yeah.
And so, so you can even pull it back to where Charles is like, "Look, I hear all this, but guess what? They never gave me the help that I needed. It's like they've never
Yes.
given help." And so you think about helping other people, I'm curious too, like, that there's something that Kate's had to deal with, and there's a part of her, even if she has to put on a front of, "I support my husband and support the royals," that in her mind, she's like, "Well, thank God somebody said something. Thank you, Meghan, for
Right.
saying," you know,
Yeah.
I just feel like deep down, most people want to do good, and again, with Kate, having not been raised a
Oh,
royal, I can't imagine the things that she would love to say, but as the mother of the future King of England and the wife of the future King of England, she's under pressure where she could never do what Meghan just
yeah.
did.
Jennifer was saying that Camilla was married. So
Mhm.
that's why they couldn't get married. I thought she was divorced and that's why they weren't allowed to get
Well, she
married.
got divorced. I mean, she was married when they first fell in love, I think,
Okay.
or he was in love with her, but he couldn't even marry her. Yeah, he could, yeah. And
Because
she was, because at
even
the
if
quote,
she
yeah.
got divorced, then he was still not allowed to marry somebody who had been divorced,
'Cause that
right?
that was the issue. Yes, that was the issue with,
And Meghan Markle had been
Elizabeth.
divorced before
That
she
was the first
married
time.
Harry.
That's the first time that was allowed. Like, that was so
Ah.
revolutionary because the reason that Elizabeth's uncle abdicated the
Oh,
throne
Paige
is
says it's because
because
she was not a virgin.
oh, see?
Ah,
That's Paige, that's a great point because
that's a
being
great
divorced
point.
means that,
Means
yes,
that you've already
you've been
been
owned before.
you've been
Yeah.
deflowered.
Yes. Jeez. So, but yeah, Elizabeth's uncle abdicated the throne in theory because of a divorcee. Now, there's speculation now that they were Nazi sympathizers, just saying, and that was the cover of why he
What?
abdicated. Yes, but because they unveiled some pictures and some letters and things, so that may be the real reason that they pushed them aside because that was around the time of World War II. But in the public face,
Yeah.
he was marrying a divorcee, and that's why Elizabeth's father took over, and that's why Elizabeth is queen because of a divorcee. But again, I think there was a lot more politics to that one. But yes, Meghan's the first time that someone, and I'm not sure of the plethora of other members of this royal family that we never get to see or hear from, but this core group that Meghan is the first divorcee to be to be in a royal wedding.
And is she the first of mixed race?
Yes, that we know of.
And she's the first to break away from the family and the first to sit down.
Well, she's not the first to break away from the family because, like I said, Elizabeth's uncle abdicated the throne, and they traveled the world, but they always got a purse from the royal family.
Yes.
Um,
Love you too, Jennifer. Get back to work. Don't get fired.
oh yeah, okay. Bye, Jennifer. Thank you. And
She
I
said,
take
have a great birthday, Melissa
thank
Carter.
you, Jennifer, and I'll take your kisses. A pandemic's been long and lonely, so I'll take your kisses, Jennifer. I appreciate that.
Yes. If you know any women who date women who are hot, you just hit me up because I can arrange you know,
Are you trying to be Cupid?
I'm just saying Stella's going to get her
This
groove
has
back.
been yes, the vaccine is eventually gonna let Stella get her groove back.
Yes,
Yeah,
girl.
because it's yeah, I've been holed up, so there's a lot of energy pent up. Just saying, I hope you're healthy. Um, but yeah, I love
Stamina
the royal.
required.
Yeah, I love I love royal talk though. I mean,
Me
yeah.
too. I love it
I don't
so
know
much.
why I love it. I guess is it because it's tied to the past? Is it because of the pageantry? Is it because
It's all of it. It's all of it. It's dreamy.
and
It's
Kate too. Kate's too skinny.
fascinating.
That's the thing. I worry about Kate because I have a bigger crush on Kate than Meghan. So Meghan is beautiful, yes, but people, I am the one that I think Kate's more attractive to me than Meghan is, and because she's sporty and she's just beautiful and she's just wonderful.
She's
And
classic beauty to me.
she's
And
just
you're right,
the
she's skinnier.
best.
She's skinnier
And
lately.
I worry about what she's having to endure because I always feel like, okay, she has to lose. She doesn't gain much baby weight. She is completely skinny when it's done. It's like that poor thing. Like I think that she's probably in the
And
same
how many kids
place.
do they have now? 3?
I think they have 4.
3 or 4? I thought it was 3. I don't know.
Is it just 3?
Somebody will know.
3?
Somebody will know.
Yeah, sorry.
All right. Well, friend, until next week, y'all go check out the podcast. Please go follow the Friendzy on Facebook and Instagram and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
And more importantly, go to friendzy.com and go ahead and subscribe to our newsletter. It's really easy. Again, name, email address. We're not going to bug you. We just want to send the show out once a week and let you know when it's on and just stay in touch. And that's a great way to keep in touch with us too. 3 kids. Okay.
3 kids. Thanks, Paige.
Wait a second. If she gets pregnant again, then I am a seer because I said 4 children.
Happy birthday, Melissa Carter.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We'll see y'all
happy
next
birthday to all the
Wednesday.
Pisces out there. All right. Bye.
Bye.